Wow. One and done.
I've
Well,
watched your other videos, so I
you have good practice.
knew what to expect. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cheers, Naryan. Thank you so
Cheers.
much for having me in your home, your beautiful home. This is a nice change of scenery with some added color to my videos.
A little bit of added color here.
A lot of added color. You've always added some color to my life. Well, I'm excited to be here because I've known you for 10 plus years now, and I feel like I've seen so many different phases of Naryan, and I'm always impressed by your many talents. So I'd love to sit here today and kind of get more into what you've been up to recently and hear all about your journey to date.
It's been wild.
It's been wild. Okay, well, maybe we can kind of go back to how you started your career. I know we kind of started together, but would love to hear the different roles that you've had since then.
Yeah, because we started together about 11 or 12 years ago at least.
Oh, yeah.
At Bell. And I spent about a decade at Bell. You spent how long?
I think I spent 7 years.
7 years.
Which is crazy because I think all of us, when we started, we probably thought we'll be here for a couple of years, but we spent a good chunk of our early career days at Bell.
Yeah. So, I mean, just super high level, 10 years at Bell, I did 11 different roles, like everything from marketing to data analytics, managing call centers. I got to spend a month in the Philippines setting up call centers.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. And then I feel like jumping from department to department, I had this felt sense that the challenges that were faced in one part of the business were most often caused by another part of the business. And so eventually I was hoping to try and create a role for myself that was able to look at the whole system. And so that was when I joined we rebranded ourselves as the customer happiness team to look at how do we make lives of our customers happier, which of course includes everything, including employee satisfaction, including every business process. So that was one sort of sneaky way I got to say, let's look at everything.
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, awesome. So 11 roles, that's a lot. And it sounds like you found or created almost the right role for yourself near, I guess, the end of your time at Bell. So how did that kind of evolve, and where was your next step after that?
So the pandemic hit mid that role and faced into just so much change. And the most meaningful part of the work for me was this growing sense of momentum that we were actually making a difference and spending a lot of time just being human with the people on my team and finding other people across the business that really cared about each other and the work that they were doing and could feel the frustration of the overall system.
Right.
And it was just, it was so much fun creating this like grassroots network of people that actually wanted to change things. And that was sort of mirrored by my work outside of Bell at the same time. I was a part of the fastest growing group fighting coronavirus.
Wow.
And I was a part of a learning network, and I was a part of working on the effective altruism movement in Toronto. And so there was this like deep symmetry of these groups trying to change the world and working on complex challenges in the rest of my life. And then also 50,000 person company, also complex challenges, and what can we do here? But when I left Bell, it ended up feeling like, oh, now I actually have so much more freedom to spend on this side of the things that I was doing.
Right.
And ever since then, I feel like I've just been continuously in this like learning journey, working on challenges that are too big for any person to solve themselves.
Love that. And that's why I think one of your key skills, which is building connections and, creating networks, has been probably so valuable throughout that entire journey, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So what was your approach in trying to create that change in a 50,000 person company, and how does that differ in how you're going about it now?
It's almost like there's like two types of power. There's like power over, which tends to rely on hierarchies and formal, hey, if I make a statement of here's our goals and here's our purpose, we're going to exert our energies to do those things. And if you don't do those things, then that's wrong and we'll move you down the hierarchy. And then there's this informal thing, which is based on how we actually feel and what really motivates us. We can kind of think of it as a difference between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. And in this world of intrinsic motivation, rather than using power over people to sort of get things done, we use power with people. And so there's a different kind of influence. And so for me, being sort of middle management layer and not having the formal authority to go and force all of these other business units to do the things that I thought best, I had to listen to what is it that they want? What is it that intrinsically motivates them? What is intrinsically motivating to each person on my team? And discovering new ways in which all of these intrinsic motivations and frustrations can work in harmony. And we can actually start to say, there's something that feels really good about working with each other to do the things that we all care about. And to the extent where there's conflict and different viewpoints have different perspectives on things, there's like this broader understanding that you can use that to generate creativity because you can't fire each other.
Right.
And you're both going to be less, both going to get less of what you want if you decide to split and do your own thing because you're all a part of the same system.
So what kind of problems, Naryan, do you find most exciting to work on? And I'm also curious to hear a little bit about your process of identifying a problem that exists, understanding the actual kind of root cause of it, the deep underlying issue of it, and then how do you go about starting to learn more about it and figuring out how do you actually go about solving something like this?
So I work at a consulting firm now that works with leaders on their complex challenges. And we were going through this branding exercise the other day. And the branding expert asked us a similar thing. How do you solve the client's problems? Yeah. And some of my colleagues, they joked, they were like, it's a little bit like in the Matrix when there's like the psychic person who has the spoon. And they're like, how do you bend the spoon? And they were like, you just have to realize there is no spoon.
Wow.
And for us, we're like, we help clients realize that there is no problem. Because every set of dynamics makes sense to somebody. There's a reason why the system has fallen into its particular pattern. Oftentimes when we describe a problem and are focusing on finding a solution, we stop trying to understand how the problem makes sense to the system.
Right.
And so you'll be trying to change something without understanding why it is the way it is.
This, to your point, starts at a level that's very personal. What role do you think spirituality potentially plays into it, if any?
Yes.
We're getting into it.
Well, how would you describe spirituality?
That is a very great question. To me, it's really letting go of your ego, your need for control, and really just being in the flow and feeling fulfilled in that. That's how I kind of see it, but would love to hear your thoughts and views on this.
Yeah, for me, what's coming up is this element of sort of like letting go of my own, I don't want to say agency, but like the fact that I am in charge of my destiny. And I've actually felt a shift recently where it almost feels like there's like something calling you in the universe. And so it's less about, here's the things that I want. I want financial security. I want to ascend the hierarchy. I want to work in this industry. Like, I'm assuming that I'm on this planet to do something or to be something or something like that. And the only way I discover that is by listening. And so I think that has something to do with like letting my ego relax a little bit and letting the universe take the reins and saying, what is it calling me to do now? And like in the face of hardships, like when I lost my job at Bell, I was actually at a monastery and it was like the biggest blessing. And I had this strangest sensation of knowing consciously that it was a blessing.
Right.
And feeling that it was a blessing while also being like, this is the hardest thing. There's trauma here. Like I can feel myself learning patterns that I will later have to unlearn so I can trust organizations again. But it has been a blessing. And I'm like, I wouldn't change any part of like my history because it's all like bringing me in a direction. And I have no idea what the world holds for us in the next 10 years.
We have no idea what the world holds for us tomorrow, you know? So I think you worded that beautifully, and thanks for sharing that personal example too, because I think it's probably a number of factors, external factors, pressures, expectations that we've grown up with, stereotypes that we feel like we need to live by, that have molded us into wanting these XYZ things that are not necessarily true to who we may be, or the path that may be the most aligned for us and synchronous for us. And so you're trying to force things and control things to go a certain way when things can be so easy and so simple if you just let go of that control. And to your point, it's listening to those signs and really hearing what's calling you.
It's cool to hear you saying this, Samia.
Why?
Because we see each other somewhat infrequently. But I do have a sense that with the cadence of our conversations, there's a sense that like we're on the same page, even if months go by and we're like not syncing up. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah. No, and I think even just coming here today, I was excited about that, because on the occasion that we do meet up, we don't get to have these deep conversations. And I think with you, I've seen so much of that spiritual awakening and growth. So I was just really excited to get into it with you. So I guess going back to the spirituality piece of it, how much of overall, solving systemic problems do you think comes from a spiritual change?
I'll do a roundabout piece, which is, that I recently wrote the book Human Work: 5 Leadership Mindsets for Humanizing the Workplace.
Yes. Can I show the book? Can we bring out the book?
If you want to.
Yeah. Yes. This is the book. Beautiful cover, by the way.
Thanks. A friend of mine who lives actually on King Street designed it.
Really? Yeah. I love it.
So we interviewed leaders from around the world, leaders who were trying to create a more human workplace. And part of what we could hear, and I'm going to say every single leader, was this, a similar sense that I was conveying around, this is just what I'm here on this planet to do. Like, work sucks for so many people, and if I can make this better and do something meaningful for the world, like that's what I'm up to.
Right.
And for almost every single person, the first mindset that we talk about is learning and growth. And it's this recognition that my own inner journey, my own internal development, is mirroring the journey that the organization goes through. And I extrapolate that also to mean something like the world will never change unless we can change what's going on in here. And even just like pointing at that will mean different things to different people, because we're all at different places in our journey. And there's sort of a humility that I feel around saying, I don't know what the next thing is, but I'm feeling very aware of the impacts of all of my actions on the larger systems that I'm a part of.
Right. I would love to hear more about what really got you into writing this book and what that process was like for you.
Well, so I'm one of, there's kind of like 2 main authors, me and Leanne Holdsworth. And then there was a book team of about 10 people who conducted the interviews, contributed to the ideas, like gave us really, really challenging peer reviews.
That's what you want.
Yeah, it was hard. But I joined the project 2 years ago, which was about 1 year into the project. I was just invited to help do some visual note taking and to sort of start to bring some coherence to the diversity of ideas that were coming into things. And then Leanne was like, Naryan, you're synthesizing things in a way that we really need, and we need your voice to be in the book. She was like, this book can be a platform for some of the ideas that you're talking about to make it more into the world, and that is aligned with what I care about.
Right.
Because you're saying something that my heart feels in alignment with, but you're saying it in a way that's going to reach different people than I can. And I was like, oh.
I love that.
I have absolutely no idea what happens after this. We're still in the process of trying to get the book onto Amazon.
Okay, so for people who haven't even read the book yet, how would you want them to experience this book?
So we start by defining what human work is. The definition that we've landed on as most helpful is a workplace that brings out the best in each individual person, whatever that means to them. And that doesn't neglect profit. That doesn't neglect supporting, like, because you need your company to be successful in order to give you enough money so that you can live in Toronto and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's a whole system. Yeah. So we describe 5 different mindsets of trying to create this. Right. So I mentioned like learning and growth. Like if you just focus on creating workplaces that help each person to develop into the person that they want to be, that's one sort of angle into it. Another one is through fostering senses of belonging, or even just tapping into your own deep sense of love and care. Yeah, there's a bunch in there, but chances are some will resonate and you'll be like, yes, this is the thing. This is the one way to make work more human. And then you'll read some others and be like, I don't understand this at all. And if you work in an organization that's large enough, there's going to be people who are holding all of these different mindsets and everyone's trying to make work better. But they're kind of missing each other. And maybe they're fighting each other. And maybe the problems that you're experiencing of creating human work this way are actually caused by somebody else trying to make work more human, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And you just can't see it.
Right.
So it's an invitation into dialogue.
I love that. Okay. So would you have any advice for someone maybe at an organization and where they're trying to create some type of change and they're faced with resistance? Would you have any advice for them?
I find questions to be particularly powerful, especially when you don't have an answer for them.
Right.
The advice, if I could offer advice, is find the people in your life that are able to offer you the questions that you don't know the answers to.
Right.
Where you can actually just sit in that curiosity together, and revealing more and more facets of the overall situation, you may start to feel a sense of curiosity, where it stops to feel like a challenge, stops to feel like a problem.
Okay, well, I think that's it for the bulk of the questions, but I do want to ask some rapid fire.
Fast question.
Okay, first question. So a leader or inspiration in your life that you really look up to?
Jean Robertson lives in a house in Kitchener. She's been leading a community of, like an intentional community of practice that has, for me, it's been this invitation to study the everyday life experiences as a way to understand more about yourself, as a way to understand more about global systems. And since coming into contact with that, there's been this like curiosity about everyday life that has changed everything for me. I
know you have a wide variety of musical interests. What is a genre that is a go-to for you?
I don't know what the genre's name is, but I've been recently DJing a lot of, I call it tropical swing. So it's like kind of like swinging percussion, like with more tropical instrumentation. And it's sunny. You can play it in your living room. You can play it in your backyard.
I love it.
You can DJ it and people like can dance to it too.
That sounds amazing. What are your sources of ongoing learning for self-improvement?
It's different. It's everywhere. I have a lot of friends who host retreats.
Nice.
My relationship. And I'm hosting a co-birthday party with Candace. That is going to, I invited you to it, but that's going to be an intentional practice with our group of friends in a way that it feels very distinct to me. And I'm inviting others to like study. Let's study our active being friendships with each other.
I love that. And I love that your sources of learning are networks and people and in-person interactions.
There's inspiration in books and podcasts, but if I don't bring it alive in my day-to-day life, it's not learning.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's actually materialized, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. What is a philosophy that you live by?
Maybe described as meta-monasticism. In a monastic practice, you go to a particular place to be held by a system that is for your own awakening process, amongst others, your own healing process. Meta-monasticism is to be able to find that monastic quality within every system of your life. So to view my work as a consultant as a monastic practice, to view my building of my house with Candace as a monastic practice. It's the same stuff that I'm talking about, but now I've just put a label on it.
Makes sense. Okay, yeah, I'll have to look into it. Okay, next question. So you live in the west end of Toronto. Are there any favorite food spots or hidden gems that you love here?
Well, I just came from Cafe 23, which has the most beautiful back patio with birds, and there's a swing, there's a Japanese maple in it, and
my
like
gosh.
a mirror that was clean. I'm like, did they clean their mirror?
Wow.
Just gorgeous.
Okay, I will have to check it out.
Yeah.
What's a skill that you'd love to develop?
Yeah, I'm attempting to breed cherry shrimp.
Cherry shrimp?
Bet you weren't expecting that.
No,
And I'm attempting to hold an ecosystem that requires minimal intervention.
Wow.
The sunlight grows the plants. There's snails that eat the plants. The snails poop, the shrimp eat the poop, and then it breaks it down into biological like ammonia and nitrates and nitrite, which then gets sucked up by the plants.
Wow.
There's like pothos growing out the top, and all the roots are in there. So I'm trying to create a system where I don't have to touch it, but like there's a like breeding population of cherry shrimps.
I love that. That's very cool. Keep me posted on how that goes. Well, thanks, Naryan, for sitting down and for such a deep and truly